in everything that we are going to do in this place. And as we discuss science, as we discuss our professional issues, Lord, I pray that you will guide us, you will equip us, and deploy us to serve the Ugandan livestock farmers and animal owners, that, Lord, you will cause us to be fruitful as we contribute to building our country. Lord, we ask that you even take care of those who are still traveling. We pray for their safety and journey mercies to this place. May you bless us as we sit and learn together, and bless everything that has been planned for the good of the veterinary profession. For we pray and believe all this in the mighty name of our God. Amen.
A very big hand clap for you. Thank you. I request our keynote speaker, you can take your seat, and request whoever is in this beautiful room to as well take seat. Ladies and gentlemen, once again allow me welcome you to this 43rd Uganda Veterinary Association Scientific Symposium and Annual General Meeting and Farmers Engagement 2024, held in Mbarara City at Las Vegas Hotel on this from 27th up to 29th of November. Once again, you can clap for yourselves for coming and for making it. As we are moving towards the end of the year, it's not always easy, but it's by God's grace that you've made it. So can we as well clap for God? Thank you. Thank you so much. As earlier communicated, we are quite behind schedule in terms of time. So we shall, and I will, request our presenters and other speakers to manage time. Time is a resource. Once wasted or once squandered, it's never recovered. It's a non-recoverable item. So without wasting time, may I request the President, Uganda Veterinary Association, Western Uganda Chapter, Dr. Andrew, to come and give your remarks. After giving your remarks, you will request the President, Uganda Veterinary Association, to come forward and welcome the keynote speaker. He gives his remarks and we get started. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Andrew.
Our keynote speaker, the Commissioner General of Prisons, the UVA President, together with your committee, the 5 regional chapter presidents, together with your executives, the members of the Uganda Veterinary Board, the former leaders of UVA, the staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, the district veterinary officers, the academia, the veterinarians, the veterinary paraprofessionals. I take this opportunity to welcome you to Mbarara City, to welcome you to Western Uganda, and to welcome you to the Western chapter of the Uganda Veterinary Association. My name is Dr. Andrew Akashawa. I'm the principal veterinary officer in charge of Mbarara district. And by God's grace, I'm the president of the Uganda Veterinary Association, Western Uganda chapter, the host chapter, the chapter that has gathered us here. And I have been the chairperson of the organizing committee for all these events. You are welcome to Mbarara 2024. In my brief remarks, I would like to give you the background to this event. Last year in Mbare, the General Assembly of the Uganda Veterinary Association, the AGM, chose Western Uganda to be the next host of this annual event. And we set out earlier this year on a mission on behalf of the National Executive of UVA, the chapter executive set out on a mission to put up the best show to give you, the veterinarians and veterinary professionals, the best experience, the best farmers engagement, the best symposium, and the best stay in Mbarara. And for that matter, I'm delighted to report to you that so far very good. We have already achieved more than 70%. And all other activities that were carried out as part of this event. Today we are here and you all seem happy. I can say that since you seem happy, that is part of our achievement as the organizing committee. Until the end of these events. We chose the best theme. For us, everything here is the best. We chose the best theme, the role of the veterinary professionals in promoting holistic health and sustainable wealth creation. I'm interested in wealth creation. We expect a veterinarian or a veterinary professional who is wealthy. A veterinarian or a veterinary professional who is not wealthy is a bit disgusting. So let us follow that theme and get the wealth in our pockets, which is the government aim or which is the government mission these days. We chose the best hotel in Mbarara, and that's why most of you are comfortable. In case you have any complaint, please bring it to me. This is the best hotel, I think, in Mbarara, because I know you veterinarians like very good things. There is a very big swimming pool out there, which you are going to surround tonight, and we shall give you the best night till morning. We formed a team of 25 members of the organizing committee. Let me request the members of the organizing committee to stand up. Dr. Hinda, Dr. Bir Seguya, Dr. Saddam Kajubi, Dr. Bameka Ronald. All these were members of the organizing committee, and I thank Dr. Amanya and others. I thank them so much. Dr. Yakeba Surira, Dr. Isabel Mweheire. All these have put together whatever you are seeing, and I thank them very much on behalf of the UVA Western Chapter. You can review your seats. This team has held a total of 20 meetings from the month of July. We have been meeting every Sunday online from 2 p.m. up to 7 p.m. I thank you for sparing your time to invest in this event, because putting up such an event requires a very long time. In fact, I request the CPD committee, headed by Dr. Amina. Dr. Amina has received the biggest beating today. Dr. Amina, we have had 20 meetings. Kindly get some points, some CPD points for my members, really. We have also made sure that this event is broadcast live on a TV station, Sky TV. Let me request the team from Sky TV to stand up, because right now the team from Sky TV, a very big hand clap for you. Our events since yesterday are being broadcast live up to tomorrow. As I conclude, I urge all of you vets, veterinary paraprofessionals, to foster the social cohesion that we badly need as a profession. You are aware that our profession has sometimes been taken through rough times. Sometimes we have been abused. I was on TV the other night with Dr. Hind and Dr. Kasibure. I told the people that sometimes they abuse us, that we are the doctors of the dogs. But we said for us, it's not an abuse. The doctor of a dog, we are proud of it, to be called doctors of the dogs, and we are proud of that. But some people consider it to be an abuse. So let us make sure we stand tall and be able to be counted among the other professionals, because veterinary is one of the oldest professions, and we are here. It's the profession that feeds us and makes us what we are. Let us cooperate. Let us participate in all the events. I hope next year we shall be going to Arua or to Guru, and I take this opportunity to welcome my president, Dr. Daniel Kasibre, to welcome all of you, and to welcome the keynote speaker. Dr. Kasibre, over to you.
Yes, let's give the president, Western chapter, another hand clap. Much aware that the owners of this hotel, guests, our guest king and guest speaker, must have been aware of what is going on within the members here, because the password is Trump at 24. So I think they have smelt whatever could be happening. Our keynote guest speaker, Canon Dr. Omuhunde Rashote Johnson Rabashaija, you are most welcome. As you know my names already, I'm Dr. Daniel Kasibule. By the grace of our Lord, the President of the Uganda Veterinary Association. I think, allow me add on the word, the outgoing president. Our keynote guest speaker. These people before you came very early in the morning, not because they were hating wherever they were coming from, but just because of the passion and love of the veterinary profession. I thank you, members, for braving the early morning coldness and coming early enough to ensure that our symposium is a success. My standing before you is majorly to thank the organizers, headed by the Western chapter, for putting up so far a memorable event. For those who were there yesterday, you can testify. It was so marvelous. And on that note, this is the continuation. The symposium is before us here, and we are blessed to have our own a veterinary profession like us. And to make matters better, my OB Namiriango College. In Namiriango, we have a motto, Dominus. It says, without God, there is no success. No wonder is a canon. Dear Canon, Dr. Omuhunde Rashote Rabashaija Johnson, you're most welcome to address the members here. Thank you very much.
Can we stand up?
Sit down, please.
the president of UVA. I also heard there's another president. You have two presidents here. The government, that is not allowed. You can only have one president. The president of the UVA, the members of the Uganda Veterinary Board, your executives, the farmers, the veterinarians, fellow veterinarians, the paravets, and all invited guests and stakeholders. Good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor for me to address members of the veterinary profession, from whom I have been hiding for the last 37 years. Mr. President, I can probably say that I'm back to the profession. I have been practicing, not seriously, because I digressed to another activity, the activity of trying to make you safe and secure by keeping away all those people you don't want. And I have had very little time to practice. In fact, I last touched an animal. I last did some service for somebody in 1988. 1988, I was a young officer. I was working in Chigo prison, and we used to have a neighbor called Edward Nsubuga, who was the owner of a hotel called Ranch on the Lake. And he used to keep animals, Frisians, for himself and for His Majesty, the Kabaka. So he knew I was a vet, invited me to come and try to remove those which are pregnant and those which are empty, so that we can inseminate those which were empty. And I went there and did it. Unfortunately, I entered like this without a glove or what. I ended up with brucellosis. Brucellosis is one of the hard diseases to treat. You can swallow tetracyclines and get injections of the hydrostreptomycin. It was really hell. But that's when I effectively last gave a service to a client as far as veterinary is concerned. But as you know, I have been in the veterinary resources related activities, more especially training. I got a scholarship. In 1984, I went to the University of Glasgow to study poultry science. It was a taught course, which I did for 2 years and came back here in Uganda in 1986, September. And I started managing the prisons hatchery in Chigo prisons. So somehow I have been in poultry. Actually, I have been breeding chicken since that time, up to the present. And I'm therefore very, very, very gratified and motivated to to come in front of the veterinary professionals so as to discuss something about your symposium, scientific. So, what is the role of veterinarians in national development? Veterinarians are guardians of animal health. Veterinary science remains pivotal in safeguarding the health of Uganda's 17 million cattle, 15 million goats, 50 million chickens, and countless other animals. Our contribution to disease control, including brucellosis, tick-borne diseases, and zoonoses, ensure not only animal productivity, but also public health security. Number two, you are wealth creators. Livestock contributes over 9% of Uganda's GDP. The dairy sector alone generates about 3.5 trillion Uganda shillings annually, while poultry accounts for a growing segment of agribusiness. Therefore, by ensuring animal health, veterinarians fuel the wheels of agro-processing, export trade, and household incomes. Number three, innovators in technology and research. Collaborations with institutions like NARO demonstrate how innovation drives results. For example, NARO research in livestock breeds, I'm told, has increased milk yield by over 40%. Vaccines like the tick-borne disease trial, in which the Uganda Prison Service played a role, because we had 2 sites where this tick vaccine was tried. That was in Masindi, in Isimba prisons, and down here in Chiburara prisons farm. Do we have that vaccine already in circulation? Because the results were fantastic. My old veterinary practice came into play, and I closely monitored this trial. And it was amazing that we could finish 1.5 to 2 years without spraying animals. And they didn't go down with any tick-borne disease. I'm very looking forward to when your vaccine will be out so that it can help this country. It was a fantastic trial. I hope it was no, you know, in Uganda Ugandans are very good at cheating. They cheat a lot. I hope that trial was not cheated. Because of course I met vets there who were handling those animals. Because it was very a very good trial. Therefore, the innovation in technology and research can really shape disease management in this country. So, what is the philosophy of veterinary practice? What drives veterinarians to excel? Is it altruism or self-interest? Altruism, of course, is the desire to serve humanity and animals selflessly. And self-interest, the need for recognition, financial security, and professional growth, probably through excellency, lies in the balance of the two. But me, from a very young age, personally, I was looking at money, at exuberance, at I don't know, because I was in primary 6 in 1969, and I studied it from Cavalry, near the town of Cavalry. And there was a man called John Batuma, Canon John Batuma. And he had this black and white animal. I think that was my first time even to see the black and white animals, stretching all the way from around those who know Kabale, around to Gwakaraba, to Bubale. His farm was that distance in the valley, about 5 kilometers, black and white. And this man had a dairy in Kabale town, where everybody collected milk from. And he was driving a Benz, a Mercedes Benz. I don't know whether it was 230 or what of those days. But he was quite arrogant. And I asked my old man, my father, who was the headmaster of that primary school where we were, I asked him that, what did this man, Batuma, study? Then he told me that he studied veterinary. Oh, I thought that I should really work hard, study and become a veterinarian and be like John Batuma. That was P6. Because really the man was impressive. And of course you all know the paravet of that time in the villages. You could not compare a paravet to anybody. Not to a medical assistant, not to a dental assistant, not to any other profession. The paravet was a class above. I don't know whether it is still true. The demise of the Veterinary Training Institute, I don't know, but I think it really affected the presence of the paravet in the village. Yet the paravet was the bedrock of veterinary public health. When I see us being disturbed by FMD and even anthrax, can you imagine? Anthrax in 2024, the Uganda Veterinary Association, you have a lot of advocacy to. So we have to bring ourselves into the president's 4th sector strategy of economic development in Uganda, and that is commercial veterinary practice, promoting agribusiness by ensuring livestock productivity, manufacturing animal products like milk, meat, leather, feed agro-industrialization, services like veterinary clinics, consultancy, and para-veterinary training, which brings the services closer to the communities. And of course, ICT, the digital platforms for disease surveillance, livestock market, and farmer education that bridge the urban-rural divide. We must integrate horizontally that is a collaboration across all sectors, and vertically, that is linking the community, the grassroots, to the national policy. So what challenges should we address as veterinarians? As I had indicated, the privates are not active. I understand there are privates here. I think they need to be more active. You know, vets have advantage as far as wealth creation is concerned. When I was breeding for the prison service, I was keeping commercial birds, commercial layers, both broilers and layers. I used to supply chicken meat. Every day I was supplying about 30 chickens to a roasting place along Entebbe Road called Mairumbiri. And I used to formulate my feeds using soya, because in prisons, you know, we have a lot of land and soya is not soya is in abundance. So all my feeds were soya formulated. And you know, soya brings an incredible flavor. Those who have not tried it, you can try. Use the soya-free chicken diet, feed broilers, and use soya full diet to chickens, and you compare the taste of the two. The one of soya will definitely beat the other group. So I used to supply those chickens 30 every day. Oh, but people would come from Kansanga, people would come from Tinda, people would come from Nokurabie to eat this chicken at Mairumbiri. This is why there is a branch of the road going to Busavara. Just because of that. And I was making some good feed. I was looking after also commercial layers, not many, around 2,000, 3,000. But we were among the people, first people to export eggs from Uganda. Because I was taking eggs to Kigali, I was taking eggs to Juba, I was taking eggs to Dombio in the other side of South Sudan. I was taking eggs to Kisangani. So what am I trying to say? As veterinarians, you occupy a critical position in wealth creation. First, yourselves, you should not be poor. Chikafuwe. Actually, you should be sentenced if you are a poor vet. I'm not saying you should be sentenced to a term of imprisonment, for which you would become, obviously you would become my client. But you should penalize them as president. What I mean is that you have the chance to get rid of poverty. Because, you know, when I was looking after chicken, my workers, you know, chicken is one of the, everything in chicken sells. Right from the chicken itself, if a worker steals one, he will get money instantly. I don't know what other things, there's no crop which can bring you money like that. But when you have, when a worker steals a chicken, instantly. I was farming near Dr. Mayega's place. I'm sure it is the Mayegas who used to buy my chicken. I don't know. Even an egg, when the worker takes an egg out, he sells it Instantly, it turns into cash. Even the kalimbwe, the chicken litter, the droppings, get a sack, take it out. It's cash, I think, up to now. Because it is one of the biggest, no, I think the best source of nitrogen-based fertilizers for the crops. And even in the fish farming, because I think the droppings cause the development of algae more quickly than any other additive. So you are the best wealth creators. So the challenge is to address, as I said, the disappearance of para-veterinary services. I want to see these paravets with their big syringe and their gumboots and let's commit ourselves. There is the ambassador of Uganda to Berlin. Do you know him? I think he was a paravet. Stephen Mubiru. I met him in Vienna. We were attending a session there of criminal justice. And he told me that where is the veterinary training? Where did it go? So let's put a lot of effort into this. And of course there is underinvestment in veterinary science. Yet veterinary offers the best way to... Do you know how much Botswana earns from animals? It's incredible. Even Namibia. Namibia will still have these Germany farmers. They live in Germany and they farm from Namibia. They are still flying there to farm. And those are arid. Those are arid places. Both Botswana and Namibia. So in Uganda, we should have really this investment in veterinary science so that we can get out of poverty. Public perception and support. I heard the president of the Western, is it Western chapter? You people, you really like to be presidents. I think my president doesn't know this, that there are several presidents around. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell him when I meet him. But we don't need to change public perception. Let them have that perception. Let's make the money. Okay? But there is another involvement now of veterinary practice in wealth creation by the most progressive department in Uganda Police today is the canine section, which is managed by a vet. And you know, these canines have changed the management of crime, especially in the villages. This business of picking coffee at night, you know, coffee now has become real gold. The business of stealing small animals, the goats, but this canine is going to eliminate this. I'm aware of the current government policy on policing. It is bringing it down to the sub-county level. There should be a minimum of, I think, 21 policemen at the sub-county. And it is possible, it's very easy to deal with. But they should have all the elements of CID, of, I think, traffic, and of course the K9 division. This one is going to change the dynamics at the grassroots. So, what is the Uganda prisons experience as far as veterinary practice is concerned? We have tried to revive our farms. Our farms suffered what the country suffered during the war. One of the reasons why I went to do prisons work was that by the time I completed in 1982, the whole country was in flames. And you know, veterinary is a great profession, but it is very sensitive to instability. Where there is instability, veterinary is what? Is gone. It cannot thrive. So in 1982, the whole country was in flames. And I said, now what do I do? The Rural Triangle, which was the bastion and I said, now what do I do? The Rural Triangle, which was the bastion of animals and veterinary practice, was a no-go area. So I said, no, let me go and put on uniform so that at least I can have some level of authority. There is nothing much we look for in uniform. It's just authority. You saw during the COVID times when they have closed everywhere, for us we were moving around. It was because of the authority which we carry. Yes? So we have tried to revive the farms. When I joined prisons, we were 2 vets who joined at the same time. We used to have a vet who actually is the one who pioneered embryo transfer in this country. But later on, I don't know why, he drank himself out until he retired. He was senior to me by 1 year in the veterinary school. But now we have 6 veterinarians in prison. And they are doing very great work. I have one whom I've seen around here. That girl is a lioness. This generous you see here, she's just a lioness. Because she's the one who has revived these farms you see, using synchronized, he brings all the cows in heat at the same time, and then inseminates them. Then you find we have about 200, it is quite a sight to see 200 Boran calves. Oh, you just want to sleep there. At a certain age here, they are just running in cycles like this. Quite that girl there. And she has also recruited others. I also have another girl in the Isimba prison farm who is doing great work. Dr. Namkas. I don't know, does she attend these things? Why? But she's around. I'm going to tell generals to make sure that these vets must come. Because they are not short of means to be able to be members of this. They are not. If I find them short of means, I will just chase them out of the prison service. I cannot allow that. As I told you, in prisons now, we have been participating innovative trials. And that we are able to do more. We are doing a lot mainly also on the crop sector. We are actually applying seeds, hybrid seeds of maize, of sunflower, of soya, and of course now we are the only producers of cotton seed. Cotton seed, we are the ones who produce it. And of course, we are building capacity of the veterinary. That I like it very much. That the veterinary students can come to prison farms and do internship training. I heard you have academicians there, professors from the university. Well, I know you write. I always read those letters, of course. But even if you didn't write prisons, so long as I'm still in charge, it must be a place for veterinary practice. Veterinary internship for the students. That is a must. Okay? So that we really bring forward the economics of veterinary resources in this country. As stewards of animal health, we must be diligent. I've been Commissioner General of Prisons for this is my 20th year. Then you can now know what type of person I am, because I can be very determined. My determination is incredible. Very determined, positive attitude, and of course, hard work. I'm not short of those values. So as veterinarians, we must be diligent. As a lay canon of the church, let me quote you Proverbs chapter 27, verse 23. That you must know the state of your flocks. In other words, due diligence in the management of your charges. You must be innovative. We must be innovative. We must harness ICT and research to solve tomorrow's challenges. I don't know how we are moving in that direction. When I was young, I used to have a veterinarian from my village called Dr. Peter Takaramire. Those who are very good at reading, there used to be a Takaramire method of isolating protozoa from, I don't remember very well. Do you remember the Takaramire method? It is for us who are born before computer. Yes. But do we have veterinarians who are bringing up these sort of innovative and technological advances? Do we have a veterinary association newsletter working on it? No, we must. We need it yesterday. Because these things must be published for all the stakeholders. I'm surprised you are saying that the farmers don't know that there is UVA. Then that means you have been sleeping. You must wake up. You must wake up. And of course, veterinarians must be united. and collaborate across professions and sectors. Above all, let us champion a veterinary philosophy of a service rooted in excellence and integrity. The road ahead demands bold leadership and a renewed commitment to our noble profession. I know you are having elections tomorrow. You are going to elect bold leadership, not self-seekers. Unfortunately, the world is such that self-seekers tend to outnumber very serious people. Everywhere. So let's not do that mistake tomorrow. I've been seeing smart guys on the Mukutu canvassing. They are entitled to canvass for votes. But of course, you know them yourselves, and you will do the right thing. As I leave you with this challenge of leadership, remember that a nation's wealth lies not just in its resources, but also in the health of its animals and the dedication of its veterinarians. I want to thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, Retired General for recognizing the place and value of veterinarians and scientists in general. That's why he decided to pay scientists first. Let the other professions wait. Let's pay the scientists first. That shows the seriousness and the attachment of value to these science professions. And even got a vet to head the science ministry. I think that lady is a vet, a very good specialist in public health. Dr. Musenero is actually is a world-renowned expert in zoonoses, especially this, especially in this disease which usually comes from Congo, Ebola. Therefore, the nation's wealth, let me repeat this, does not only lie in its resources, but also in the health of its animals and the dedication of its veterinarians. You are the ones. Thank you very much for taking time to listen to what I had to tell you. I wish to urge you to take this science, is it scientific symposium? Something like that. Very fancy names, scientific symposium. May God bless you and the animals entrusted to your care. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Canon Dr. Johnson Byabashisha, for that wonderful presentation. A very big round of applause. Once again, I would like to thank you for coming. I'd like to thank you for sparing your time. I know you're a very busy person, but being part of the veterinary family, thank you for gracing this symposium and for making it here in Mbarara City at Las Vegas Hotel. There is something that have caught my attention. I'm not going to repeat it, but for our own consumption, I would like to add my voice and be quoted verbatim. Once we, the elites, hide behind the cover of the coats we put on, the idiots will take over and the country will be headed for doom. So it's time for us to stand up to the challenge and we drive this nation forward. We drive this nation, we drive our farmers, our peasants to socio-economic transformation and create value and wealth for the nation. Thank you. Our keynote speaker, I would like to let you know that before you came in, the first session was already done, and we are going to head to the second session. I would like to introduce to you the doctors who chaired the first session for purposes of recognition.
Just a moment.
I would like to recognize the doctors who took us in the first session by chairing it very, very meticulously. Dr. Dr. Yake Basulira and Dr. Joseph Amanya. Please stand up for recognition. Now that we are going to head to the second session, I'm going to invite my colleague, Dr. Kagoro, to come and introduce the chair and the co-chair for the second session, and he gives a brief citation of their profiles. Thank you, colleague.
Thank you, Comrade Paule.
You can proceed.
Before we move to the next session, Chair, I've been informed by the President that our keynote speaker has other engagements, and therefore shortly will be taking leave. So it has been guided as follows that we request one of our senior vets and entrepreneur and a friend of our dear beloved Commissioner General, in the names of Dr. Alice Banga, to come on behalf of all the vets in this room and the organizers to move a brief vote of thanks to our chief guest here today. Thank you.
Our guest of honor, Dr. Johnson Byabasheija, as I normally call him. It's a great honor to me to be the one to be chosen to move a vote of thanks to you, our own Dr. Johnson Byabasheija. I don't know how it has happened, but I think I'm the most eligible person here to give this vote of thanks. For these reasons, Dr. Johnson Byabasheija actually comes from a village next to where I am born. So as he goes to his home, he passes through my village. The next reason is that Dr. Johnson Byabasheija, I got to know him when I was a first year at university and he was a second year. And therefore, we moved together. So in his third year and fourth year, actually we used to be very, very close because he was a roommate to my boyfriend then.
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
The boyfriend who I
What a
married.
rich history.
Yes. The boyfriend who I married, but as fate would have it, he didn't live for long. He was called Dr. Byekwaso Godfrey. So he left me one child and a daughter, and yeah, we have lived together with Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson has also said that he was involved, he has for a long time been involved in poultry. And therefore, since I deal in veterinary pharmaceuticals, I think all of you know me as Eram Uganda Limited, and also as Eva Victoria Limited. So Dr. Byabashija has been a great supporter of us. Having said all that, yeah, Dr. Byabashija is truly a vet, a true vet. And we are really, really very honored to have had you today to be our keynote speaker. And what you have said, I want us to really take it seriously. I don't think really any vet should be poor. We have all that we need, and we can, just as he has advised, let us not be sentenced for being poor. Let us do what we can to make sure that we raise our being, we become empowered, we empower ourselves and empower the communities we serve. So Dr. Byabashija, I am so happy that you came, and I'm so happy to have been called in to give a vote of thanks to you. Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson Byabashija.
Thank you so much. Dr. Byabashija, before you leave, I humbly request to share a photo with you because I won't get the chance. My request.
Not only you, my comrade.
Then after, I request the executive of UVA to share a picture with you as well. So it's my honor I'm standing here.
As that happens,
Yes.
before he stands up, I would like to call on all the current UVA executive. Please fast forward, come, as well as the chapter presidents of all the regions that are present here.
Mine first.
Yeah, and yeah, you not you alone. Don't be selfish.
No, mine first, then the rest will follow.
No, me and you actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would take that. But while that happens, ladies and gentlemen, the chapter presidents move forward where Dr. Kashaba is. Canon, may I take the pleasure to actually introduce in your presence the following session chair that are here with us that would have taken us through the following for your recognition.
For purposes of...
yeah, move this way, move this way. Maybe
we need to capture the banner in the...
Absolutely. Dr. Byabashija, I have the pleasure to introduce to you. You want to speak?
I don't know why Alice.
She has to be part of
I had
it.
to tell you that she used to doesn't mean me.
Dr. Alice Banga, please come forward for the photograph. Create a room. She has to stand next to him, please. Yeah, yeah, for record. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
On your
Doctor,
way
for
out,
coming.
on your way out, our Commissioner General, I would like our keynote speaker, sir. There is something small. Dr. Ndifuna, please, could you kindly return our guest to the fore, just for the moment? Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Our
may we-
keynote speaker, thank you for coming and for making it.
Mr. President, you may walk our guests through the exhibitions momentarily, then we return to the program.
We can have music interlude as the
He's accompanied out of the conference room. Thank you.
welcome. Some music interlude as we prepare to have a second session. Thank you so much. DJ. As earlier told, we are live on Sky TV, courtesy of the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Thomas Tayebwa. Thank you guys from Sky TV. Okay, welcome.
May I call on our next session chairs, Dr. Halid Chirunda and Professor Robert Tweyonjere, to take your due positions.
Let's be mindful of time, please. Let's be mindful of time. Our next session is about innovations and advancements in research, health education, and animal production. Professor is already here, so allow me pass on the baton to him.
Hold on.
And we proceed.
We need to do the citation first of who we have today in the room for that session. Whoever has Dr. Halid, to kindly ask him to take his position. Now,
add on your voice, can we once again call this symposium to order? Can we pay attention to detail as we prepare to proceed? Dr. Kagoro, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Katate. The session chairs for these innovative approaches, this for the potential role of this session, basically, the first is Dr. Halid Chirunda. Dr. Halid Chirunda is a PhD holder. His role is greatly entrenched in research and development. He has been instrumental, specifically in the development of the current anti-tick vaccine, which is being developed by NARO. And he's also not about being a researcher, but also is the current director of research for the Mbarara Zonal Agricultural Research and Development Institute, where we hosted the Farmers Engagement Day yesterday that was marvelous and broke all previous records. May you stand up for recognition with a round of applause, Dr. Chirunda. In tandem to the chairing of this session is none other than Professor Robert Tweyonjere, who is a senior academician in the College of Veterinary Medicine, Animal Resources and Biosecurity, and by de facto the Dean, the School of Veterinary Medicine, Animal Resources and Biosecurity. Professor Tweyonjere, you are most welcome, please. Fast forward to discuss for us the topics of the day. We have, not in any order of precedence, Dr. Badi Maulidi, who is Kenyan, but also a biorelations lead for the AG Results FMD Vaccine Challenge Project run by the government, and is here with us. Thank you for coming. Dr. Simwe Alani is a senior veterinary officer of our own Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. At Entebbe, Dr. Alani is responsible for the non-ruminants docket, and is also the focal point person for the livestock identification and traceability system development. You are most welcome, Dr. Rani. From the non-governmental sector, please join me to welcome Dr. Charles Lagu. Dr. Charles Lagu is a well-known veterinarian, an ardent wealth creator for several decades in Uganda, has held various government positions, and is a PhD holder. Currently, he is the managing director of Lanoa ATC Limited, and also a continuing researcher. You're most welcome, Charles. Last but not least, Dr. Nelson Bukamba is a field veterinarian and works with the gorilla doctors in Bwindi and Mugahinga. We are happy to be with you here today. So, without much ado, I will request the chair, Dr. Professor Tweyonjere, to move forward with the presentations. I will request Dr. Muhanguzi to be in charge of the presentation, and thanks for the work you are doing. Over to you, the next session.
Thank you so much, MC. In the interest of time, we shall move fast, and I think I will start by introducing the first speaker, Charles Masembe, who is going to take us on innovative approaches to discover the potential roles of anthropogenic factors in fostering the spread of, is it what? ESBL, producing Enterobacteriaceae and antimicrobial resistance in Uganda. Masembe is a senior colleague at the Makerere University and has been engaged in research for quite a number of time, and we should pay attention so that we receive a lot of his wealth of innovation and wealth of research. Masembe, you are most welcome to give your presentation.
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. I'm happy to be here, and I'll dive in right away with the talk. We know that our behaviors influence the outcome in many times what we do, for example, the health. So in this case, we are asking ourselves, what do the humans do, or what do animals dissipate to the environment that can contribute to antimicrobial resistance? And then, some time back, many years ago, we were doing things without information. Now we have got information. Can this information be used to inform policy? Can this information be used to guide the decisions that we as a country make? Antimicrobial resistance is a big problem, not only in Uganda, but also many parts of the world. So with support from several partners, we are working on this in different countries. But a picture like this is not uncommon. You usually find, this is actually River Rizi, which is here in Mbarara, and we find many things floating around. You find the tablets, you find the bottles, everything. So could this be a source of antibiotic resistance to our animals, to our health? Somewhere very near, you find somebody is picking water for domestic consumption. We run away from the previous one where we see bottles, and we go where we don't see the bottles, and we pick water for consumption. And we have a feeling that, okay, this one is safe. So could that be a source for any of those three? The farms where we work are not any different. Whenever we are treating, the farmers are observing, and they're also learning. So what do? It's quite a problem. Again, this is River Rizi. You saw people were fetching water, and then we have animals also grazing there. So, is that a natural laboratory that we are having? What are the repercussions of that? And I could also pause here a bit and say, when we talk about antimicrobial resistance, a lot of effort has been put in one sector, and another sector, we are always glossing over it. Oh, antimicrobial resistance, okay, the environment. But do we have data about AMR situation in the environment? Do we have data about AMR in wastewater treatment plants, in hospital effluents, in rivers where this water is? And some of this water is used for many other things. So we set out to ask ourselves, the presence of antibiotic resistance bacteria, the presence of antibiotic resistant genes, and the presence of the antibiotics themselves in all these environments. So I've already mentioned that. And also the third objective there is we have got birds, marabou stock, with so-called Karoli, and many others. What is their role as far as transmission, as far as maintaining antimicrobial resistance is concerned? How can we as veterinarians come in to provide information which can go to policy formulation in our sector, but also in other sectors? Because we all work for Uganda, we all work for humanity, we all work for health. So we compared the two areas, one which has got a high anthropogenic effect, and another one which has got low anthropogenic pressure. So here we are looking at rivers Ruizi in Mbarara, and we're also looking at River Aswa in northern Gulu. And thanks for the team that we worked with here in Mbarara, and also the team in Gulu. I see most of you we have met in several fora. This is just a schematic presentation of all the procedures that we went through. I want to quickly rush through this so that we go to the result that we want to communicate today. So we were looking out for the marabou at landfills, at abattoirs, and you wait and collect the dung. You wait and this is a crow, this is a marabou, and you wait and you go and swab the dung, and then you go to the lab and you go through all those procedures. Testing for presence of this bacteria, testing for identification of the bacteria, and all the way up to sequencing. Again, we chose a few genes, but then we also did whole genome sequencing and also used the resistomap approach to identify genes. Again, translating the DNA into data that is analyzable. Those difference bases are the ones which we use when we are doing analysis. Now, I want to draw your attention to this. In E. coli, we found the CTXM gene present. Let's call it the resistance gene. In Klebsiella pneumonia, we also found the resistance gene is present, and many others. But what is most important is that this gene appears in two groups. There's one group which is predominant to the northern region, and there is this group which is shared between the northern and also the southern group. The same general scenario is what we see in the E. coli. So the question is the situation this bad that even within the resistance genes themselves, they have begun generating more mutations, more changes? Is it now high time that we come in and we say, don't stop at only saying it is resistant, let us see the differences that there are. Isn't it high time we go in and try to come in with it? If you see there's resistance, first find out what type of resistance is there, and then can we diagnose for resistance before treatment? In that way, maybe we'll be saving more and more life. When we are developing, okay, we also got the water samples from those different areas, and the preliminary results, this was done at the government laboratory in Wandegere. So preliminary results show that even the samples that we collected, the water samples we collected, doxycycline is rich there, Penicillin is quite a lot in there, and many other antibiotics that we are using, both in animals and also in humans. They are present in there. Are we sitting on a time bomb? Are we addressing antimicrobial resistance in all its spheres, or we're just touching one side? So it is high time we wake up and we begin to give a more holistic approach. Some of the main findings is that the wastewater treatments, River Ruiz and the Aswa, they all have this AMR E. coli and the AMR Kleb pneumonia. And even other genes are present as well. So the situation, I can say, is not very, very interesting in the water, in the dung, in all that, that is not considered for other, during AMR. Should we bring these ones onto the table when we are discussing AMR? The birds, as I've mentioned, marabou stork, pied crows, and others, they have got presence. They show that they have got bacteria which have got genes that are resistant to the commonly used antimicrobials. Is it high time we pay attention to these wild birds? That's a question for the audience. Again, as I mentioned it out there. If you take the last two, we are in sync with the World Health. FAO, this information, will need it. Our line ministries will need this information. But then, do you think this information that has been generated by many researchers in Uganda, should it be used when we are revising or when we are informing our antimicrobial national action plan? Or should we just leave it on the shelves? This question I leave to the powers that be. The information is there. Let us use it and see how we can benefit our country. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles, so much, my colleague. And as you can hear, I always challenge us. We are all familiar with the acaricide resistance, thick acaricide resistance. And for it has received some attention because the resistant ticks, we can see them. When they are there, I remember the first time I encountered them and I ran to Professor Rubeire with a bottle of resistant ticks. But the challenge to us, all of us, is that there is something ticking which we don't see, and that is antimicrobial resistance. We have had a lot of hype about it, but it is a real danger, especially in the status and how I would want to say we misuse or we handle our antimicrobial agents. So thank you once again, and I hope, I think we should listen to a number of them before we can bring in any questions. I will ask my colleague here to introduce the next speaker. Halid, please introduce the next speaker. And
thank you so much, colleagues. I think the next speaker, okay, thank you so much, Professor Masembe, for the presentation. Our next speaker is going to talk about the progress of livestock identification and traceability systems in Uganda, and is Alan Asimwe. Dr. Alan Asimwe, kindly step forward and come and give your presentation.
Thank you very much, Session Chair. Protocol observed. First of all, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to address all of you who are here. As stated, I'm Asima Alani, and I'm the focal person for livestock identification. and Traceability from the ministry. Briefly, I'm not going to teach you livestock identification and traceability. I'm just going to try to briefly pass through the steps we have experienced regarding this subject. As you all know, using the 2021 census results, we have around 14 million heads of cattle, 17 million goats, 4 million sheep, 7 million pigs, and 57 million chickens. We have more livestock, but regarding this subject, these are the items of interest that we should have in mind for now and the future. These livestock, of course, they produce for us meat, milk, and all the other things that we get money from as people and as a country. However, due to a number of reasons, largely the trade or the movement in these livestock is largely within the region, as you can see on the map. However, our target and dream should be to move them to the international market, because that's where the big bucks are. Among the limitations that are keeping us in this position, it's largely because, one, we have something that is very endemic, which is at the center of all this, which is FMD and the business structures or the business facilitating infrastructure that is lacking. And one of the ways of moving away from that is that we have to ensure that our livestock and its products are well identified. Because maybe for FMD it is endemic, so we have to find a way of working with that endemic situation, but to get our products on the international market. Because of limited or ineffective identification, we are exposed to ineffective disease control measures. We talk about the breeds we have, but having proof that it is indeed that, we have to explain a lot. The other issue is ownership. Someone here talked about goats being moved from one place to another. Actually, it was the keynote speaker. But if a goat is picked from one district to another, you have to explain a lot in another district that it is indeed your goat. So the issues of proof of ownership. Lastly, the products, when even if you keep your animal very well and it is processed very well, at the end of consumption, you can't prove that for you everything was handled very well. However, as you all know, livestock identification is not new. It is something that has been here, as you can see, since 1918. That was during the colonial times. this Branding of Stock Act was introduced. However, at that time, the stock for commerce, there were only 3. It was cattle, horses, and ostriches. Then in 1964, after independence, it was now a Uganda law. However, the limitations of 1918 still followed us to 1964. And those codes you are seeing, those were the codes that were in that law for identifying the animals in those districts. However, the challenge with these codes is that they are only identifying the location where the animal is, but not identifying the animal itself, not even the owner of the animals, except for where you see national herd. There it is very easy to know the owner, but still not the location of where the herd is. So Mbarara is just highlighted because of it being the host, but at the note they tried to go ahead and try to improve by indicating that the district letter should be followed by the numerals of the counties. We are all very sure those counties have changed. So for sure, as of now, we don't have, that couldn't work. Now, in 2001, that Branding of Stock Act was repealed by the Animal Breeding Act, sorry. However, in the Animal Breeding Act, regarding identification, it only provided for the registration of the other old brands. And at that time, you can see in 2001, we are very sure there are other forms of identification had also come into the market, but still this act didn't give any clear guidance on how to proceed regarding those new forms of identification. Now, with that meant there was a vacuum regarding identification. And without identification or proper identification, you can't talk about traceability. However, the stakeholders who were there at that time, they also didn't sit because of their own interests. They took whatever they could use to identify their animals, because identification has been noted that it is a need even just for record keeping for your own farm, However, those identifications that were picked were either only useful to only that farm, but they could not be taken up even in the district itself, in the small location. So these are some of the methods, as you can see, that farmers have been using. Unfortunately, the most popular one is where they do nothing. Some have branded, some have used tags, others they are using boluses. And now we have moved to centrally controlled ear tags. However, all these methods have been used and they are addressing largely two areas, either strengthening disease control measures and proof of ownership. A number of initiatives have been taken to address some of these issues. One was around 2009, there was this by the East African police chiefs and the Institute of Security Studies. Then also in 2010, even the Ministry of Agriculture implemented this project, which started the discussion internally regarding leads, and it was looking at farm to fork at that time. And these are some of the things that were undertaken. Then in Karamoja in 2010 to 14, there was the cattle theft prevention project implemented by OPM. They were the first to use molasses in Uganda. And during that time, even the East African, the IGAD, supported the member states with developing guidelines for leads, the training manual, and the model legal framework, which guided the next steps that were taken in Uganda under the Meat Export Project. And these are some of the things that were done during that time, which all of that led to a pilot of livestock, of leads, that was done in Isingiro, Chotera, and Rakai, targeting 20,000 heads of cattle. Though there was another EU project which supported increasing the number to 24,000. There are a number of ongoing activities, as stated there, and these are some of the challenges and recommendations that we are handling during this period. Because of time, I would requesting that I'm allowed to stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, he has dealt so much on traceability, its importance, the effect that we can have if we did not have our animals identified as a country, and as farmers, the way we miss out on market, the market that is beyond our borders as a country. And he has emphasized the steps that are currently being undertaken to ensure that we can be able to have the service of traceability back and then benefit from the values of its availability. I now have the honor to, we are losing time, in fact, and we may have to move a little faster, cut down on time. Initially it was 10 minutes, now we are coming down to 5 minutes. That calls for you being so smarter, and I believe that the rest of the presenters are much smarter than the facilitators, and we believe they will be able to present in a shorter time. So the next presenter is the seasoned Dr. Charles Lagu, who is to present on livestock extension workers' skills and agriculture extension services delivery to livestock farmers in our country, with the case of southwestern Uganda. So Dr. Lagu and the team kindly have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and your colleague. My name is Charles Lagu, and I will be delving into explaining some common phenomena that has been taking place in the extension service. Are you with me, colleagues? Yes. The question is that the paravets and the vets are not seen in the sub-county and they are not seen in the district. True or false? So that's what I'm going to explain. And this was also raised by our keynote speaker. So I will be guided by that outline, and agricultural extension is precisely explained by FAO, and also service delivery, we have explained it to mean tangibility, reliability, and responsiveness. Colleagues, we are all making contribution for wealth creation, And therefore, agriculture extension or veterinary extension is the heart and soul of the knowledge base of this sector. So to improve efficiency, competitiveness, and foster commercialization, we need veterinary extension service. And this must be pluralistic, they must be inclusive, they must be equitable, it must be decentralized, and must be integrated. Those are the key facets. But there has been a lot of complaints from stakeholders, councillors, politicians, farmers, and so forth, that we don't see you. So what are the issues? Are these extension workers therefore competent with the requisite skills or not? I will be explaining this. Recently, just 2 days ago before our conference started, I saw on that link, Phonex, the Prime Minister accuses extension workers of failing farmers. Okay? The key issue here is neglect of duty, lack of support, abandonment, and low pay. And also that we are not seen. So what does this mean in empirical sense? I will be looking at, in this presentation, the soft skills of these extension workers. Do they have the necessary ICT skills? Do they have the professional and professional development skills? Do they have the technical subject matter skills, which my good professor Teongera has been impacting on you and others? And the question therefore is, what is the relationship between these skills of our people, the paravets, and the veterinarians, and the delivery of service? I will be delving into that notion. We used correlational design method and employing both qualitative and quantitative approach. And this study was mainly involving the extension workers, public and private, and some selected farmers to give feedback. And we did it in 8 districts of Southwestern, which belongs to Dr. Chirunda, our facilitator here. And the 8 is representative enough because we have 15 districts now in Southwestern Uganda. So we did in 8. That is Mbarara, Isinjiro, Ntungamo, Chiruhura, Busenyi, Sema, Mitoma, and Liantonde. The DVOs of these districts can testify that we are there. I'm sure they will not deny. And the sample size is determined by Kreji and Morgan table of 1970. We also did a purposive sampling for the DP, District Production and Marketing Officers specifically, and some DVOs for key informant interviews. And out of the 279 extension workers we mapped in the 8 districts, we sampled 162 using stratified and simple random sampling. And out of the 120 farmers we sampled who seek veterinary service, we sampled 90 just to give an information. And this is a structured questionnaire taking point of the 5-point Likert scale ranging from 1 to 5, with 1 meaning low and 5 high. And key informant interviews and focus mainly to collect qualitative information. To ensure quality of these instruments, we conducted a CVI, what we call content validity index, so that our instruments are valid. But also we did a reliability test using the Cronch-Ball for reliability to establish that our instrument and the data we collect are reliable. That safeguards data quality. Members, the districts covered are 8, you can see there. 70%, 80% of the interviews we conducted were males, and 20% were females. That shows you the disproportionate participation of these actors in agriculture. We contacted certificate holders, we contacted the people who had diploma among the extension workers, those who had national diploma, higher national diploma, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and there are some who say we have postgraduate. And that is the flow. And the respondents in terms of designations were assistant animal husbandry officers, assistant production manager, assistant veterinary officer. All these titles exist, as you can see, some are auxiliary staff, lab technologists, some in the private sector, private paraveterinarians. We conducted all of them, as you can see. On extension soft skills, we asked the extension workers, and this is pertinent to address the question, are you visible? We asked these extension workers, based on their various positions, are you able to critique emerging problems? Are you able to manage time? Do you value time? Are you able to consult the farmer participatorily? Do you facilitate? Do you create and innovate? Like how our chief presenter today was, the keynote speaker was saying, are we creative and innovative? The results indicate that the extension workers rated themselves very high and very high across all levels of academic qualification. That they critique, they manage time when they are called, they also participate, they also facilitate, and they are creative. Let's go further. On ICT skills, we asked them whether they easily prepare audiovisual aids. This is what they taught us in biostatistics: charts, graphs, pictographs, to present scenarios. For example, if it is prevalences, are we using this to tell the farmer when we are teaching them? Are we on the FM radio stations and televisions? They are with us. Are the extension workers using this? Are they using internet and computer to access information? Latest information publications. We ask them, do you also use internet to communicate to farmers? Through email, through WhatsApp, through Instagram, through X, formerly Twitter, through Instagram. Do they use mobile phone to text latest innovations in egg incubation and so forth to the farmers? These are the results. The extension workers generated their ability to use mass media very low. These extension workers rarely appear on FM radio stations to explain latest technology, like my brother here was presenting on resistance. They don't. Very, very few, very low. This came across all the regions, and I'm sure it applies also in other regions. Extension workers rated their ability to use internet and computer access to new information as moderate. This could be related to data, access to data. So the DPMOs here, the planners who are here, the policy matters who are here, data is an issue. If we are to use internet to disseminate information to the farmers for visibility. Another issue is connectivity. In some of these districts, in some of these regions, connectivity is a challenge. So it is an issue we need to address. On professional, personal and professional skills development, we talked about advancing career, we talked about professional ethics, we are talking about transparency. Extension workers across, okay, let me summarize. Extension workers across all academic rated their personal and professional development very high. They have high interest. And therefore, that also brings issue of CPT, which was highlighted. On technical subject matter expertise, there were varying responses related to demonstration, related to adult learning, related to new technology. They are able to access new technology, for example, from NARO or from the academia. And more importantly is that the extension workers' ability to synthesize and publish journal information is moderate. So that's an area we need to improve. But also climate change and market fluctuations, which are key emerging issues, are also moderate. As I conclude, the skills of extension workers is pertinent to ensuring wealth creation, and these skill sets need to be improved through the continuous CPT, which has been well explained earlier, including climate change, ITK, market risks and uncertainties. And we also noted that the designations of officers in the districts. For example, in the town council, you will find somebody is called senior animal veterinary officer. Then in the sub-county, it's called animal husbandry officer. They are the same job title. They get the same remuneration. So this needs to be harmonized. And then the farmer's view on key parameters is being analyzed and will be integrated into study. We recommend that the role of extension worker in facilitating extension services is very key, and clear key performance indicators need to be set based on job descriptions for visibility and results. So we think that if these key parameters of skill set is addressed, then we are able to explain why are we present, why are we absent. And we are continuing with the study to investigate approach, extension approach, and stakeholder linkage. Which paper will be developed into a policy brief to inform policy and for better extension service delivery. So these are key aspects which the study has addressed to answer, are we present or are we absent in service delivery? I thank you so much. Asante sana.
Thank you, Dr. Lagu. We allowed to extend some time because we thought this is a really very important topic, and there is some data being processed. We need to hear now from the farmers who actually keep on complaining that we are not present. The next speaker is Nelson Bukamba, and please, from the Gorilla Doctors, try and by all means and summarize in 5 minutes. Take this.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bukamba Nelson from Gorilla Doctors, and I'm presenting on compassionate medicine, where we are focusing on non-invasive approaches in disease surveillance. Our organization provides both clinical and emergency care to the endangered 163 wild gorillas that are left in the wild in both Uganda, Rwanda, and DRC. We operate in a One Health approach, and part of our work involves disease surveillance from domestic animals, sympatric wildlife species like baboons and other monkey species and other wildlife, but as well with the mountain gorillas themselves. From non-invasive sampling, of course, we've been able to study and evaluate historic and current movement patterns of wildlife, but also when I talked about the 163 mountain gorillas, we are not counting in video gorillas or trapping in video gorillas, but we non-invasively collect samples from the night nests of mountain gorillas without destabilizing the natural habitat or interacting with the animals directly, to be able to assess individual DNA samples from the night nests of these mountain gorillas, and then we are able to come up with the population census of mountain gorillas. I think every after 5 years, we always come up with the population census, and the next one is happening around December, where we are going to go through the same process. We are going to go out in the forest. We do what we call a complete sweep, where we're going to collect fecal samples from night nests of mountain gorillas, that the gorillas make nests every night. So when they make nests, the following day will move away from the nests. So we go to where the gorillas slept, collect the fecal samples, take them to our lab, and then do genetic studies to assess the individual DNA of each mountain gorilla. And from that, we're able to come up with the total population of this endangered species. Yes, as vets, as wildlife practitioners, of course we have been involved in invasive sampling, which involves direct interaction with the animals. We've worked with bats, we've worked with dogs and other domestic animals around the park. We've sampled mountain gorillas, of course, mostly in clinical interventions. For mountain gorillas, we don't get this opportunity of going out in the wild and you're going to dart all the animals and you start picking samples from them. But for clinical interventions, for example, this individual had a wire snare and we are desnaring this individual. Then we are able to collect blood for further clinical diagnosis and assessments. Of course, invasive sampling comes with risks, like for the case of endangered mountain gorillas. These animals are critically endangered, and you exposing to one individual animal, I've told you that there are 163. So let me say I dart a 63rd individual of the 1,000, and this animal is stressed and dies, and they are critically endangered. And for a mountain gorilla, a female mountain gorilla, to give birth to an individual, it takes 4 years. So it's after 4 years that we get one gorilla. And then you're losing one gorilla in an intervention that would have avoided by conducting non-invasive approaches. On the case of the animal welfare standards, of course, ethically as vets, it is upon us to come up with innovative approaches of sampling and assessing the health and research of wildlife in means that avoiding the invasive approaches. I've talked about the disadvantages of invasive sampling. Animals are always difficult to trap because they are wild and they're not going to present themselves to us. This creates risks and stress to the animal as you keep encountering the animal. The efforts are costly. The cost and resource prohibits such approaches. For example, if I'm to put down one mountain gorilla, I need like 20 people to keep up the other animals, which is resource. For non-invasive approaches, capture and handling is less stressful, and less dangerous to both the animals and the humans who are working with the animals. Some of the limitations for non-invasive sampling, of course, is that each time we go out in the wild, we are either removing something or we are leaving something. So the mere human presence in the wild, of course, doesn't leave the wildlife or the natural habitat the same. So yes, also non-invasive sampling is not completely avoiding the destabilization of the natural habitat and also the environment of the animals. Some of the approaches that we have been using in disease diagnosis and research involves collection of food drops, all the things that the animals have fed on. And from this, of course, we have been able to carry out serology, viral and genetic studies from the animal food drops that they feed on and drop, they leave behind. Some of the limitations for this approach involves sick animals, of course, have less appetite, so you're unable to have all the samples in that process. We do what we call saline swabbing. This is commonly done in animals that are partially habituated, like baboons that are used to human presence. So we use saline swabs to present them to baboons that are tied on a small rope. The animals, this is of course with an attractant like honey that we use. The baboon will chew on the swab, drop it and leave me with saliva. So I don't need to put down a baboon to do oral sampling invasively. We do fecal collection in mountain gorillas. I've told you of the night nests, but also for bats, we do collect guano. As bats are roosting, they are dropping fecal samples that we later collect for stress assessment, for parasitic studies, bacterial, genetic, and microbiome studies that we have conducted and published several papers on this. I've told you about gorilla census, which is actually happening this December for these endangered mountain gorilla species. And from this, we don't need to interact with the animals directly, but we're able to collect fecal samples that are used in the evaluation of the population census of mountain gorillas. We also go ahead and do vector surveillance, and we have been able to successfully collect mosquitoes that are actually biting on mountain gorillas. And from these mosquitoes, the mosquitoes will feed on different animal species, both humans and wildlife, in monkeys and all these. So we shall be able to collect blood. The blood can tell us which animals the mosquitoes are feeding on. And from that, we can also assess viral studies from these samples. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nelson, for that marathon presentation. And the message is very clear, very straightforward, non-invasive, and we take on it. Our next speaker is George Muhanguzi, and please be as precise and more to the point as your predecessors. You have only 5 minutes. When you see me stand up, you just simply stop.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I take the opportunity to share something which we have done in the due course of the year. My name is George Muhanguzi, and I am a frontline animal health worker in Kazo district, working in Remikoma sub-county. On a daily basis, I interface with farmers, and these are their conversations. Farmers are saying that all acaricides on Ugandan market are not working, they are fake, and a lot of things. So because of this kind of saying, we decided to do a simple study to see if farmers are saying the acaricides are not working, are they really using them very well? Because also practices influence the efficacy of acaricides. Cattle is very important in the world and in Uganda, but ticks and tick-borne diseases are a big threat to cattle. Uganda alone, from studies, suffers an aggregated financial loss of about $1.1 billion per year due to ticks and tick-borne diseases. Now, the most worrying thing is this amount of money we lose is 9 times. 9 times, I say 9 times, greater than the exports, the money we get from exporting dairy products. It simply means because of ticks, farmers, everyone toiling, we are toiling for nothing. In fact, even what we are supposed to keep is taken. It means ticks are a very serious problem. Chemical control of ticks is common on farms. However, knowledge, attitude, and practices influence the efficacy of this method. So the objective was to assess knowledge, practices on acaricide use among cattle farmers. And this was a cross-section study which we did. The data was collected using paper interviews. The place was Remikoma sub-county. Remikoma sub-county is in southwestern Uganda in Kazo district. So from the information we got, majority of the people owned dairy farms, and majority of them had between 10 and 100 cattle. The age, as you can see, the gender majority were males. The age and education is there. So when we began our interviews, we realized that farmers have enough good knowledge on acaricides. 100% knew about acaricides. But now when it came to acaricide classes, a few people, about the majority, said there are 3 classes. Yet on the market we have 5 classes. That was a gap. When we came to the common acaricides used on farms, 79.4 said they use amidines. So there is over-dependence on amidines. When we came to asking the period acaricide has been used on the farm, majority of the farmers have used the acaricide for over 5 years. When now we came to this critical part where we asked the amount of water, the amount of acaricide added to the water, we got 50 mils as standard, which means there is a discrepancy because acaricides have different dilutions. Now, the other most important thing was here, the number of animals. Majority of our people use a crush and pump. But once we asked about them, how many animals can one jerrycan spray? this is what they said. Majority said above 6 animals, 1 jerrycan. When we came to whether the acaricide application is supervised, majority said yes, it is supervised. Okay, we came to the discussion. Now, in the discussion, one thing stood out. People are using less water to spray animals, less acaricide wash. For example, majority of them were using a 20-liter to spray above 6 animals. If you use a 20-liter to spray above 6 animals, this transitions into 3.3 liters per animal. Now the question is 3.3 liters per animal enough for a mature animal? We went and compared it to people bathing. There is a study where a Greek in 1996 said a person needs about 5 to 15 liters, one person. Yet that person is not bigger than a Frisian cow. So literally it means if a person needs 5 to 15 liters, spraying animals with 3.3 liters is not enough, and this is a very big gap which is going to increase acaricide resistance. So we realized also other gaps, and then we made recommendations. Number 1, integrated tick control program. Dr. Harid is here about the tick vaccine. We need to expedite the tick vaccine so that it is involved in tick what? Control. So that we control ticks in an integrated way. Number 2, capacity building to teach the extension workers here, frontline animal health workers, to teach these farmers wherever we interface with them what they have about the acaricide classes. The ministry to streamline practices. Thank you for listening to me. The work was done in support of the in-service apply veterinary epidemiology training ISAVIT. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhanguzi. And that is also a very thorny issue, but the issue that is coming out from that, what you have described, is that actually animals are not sprayed sufficiently. I think that is the point that came out on top of the farmers not being familiar with the classes and therefore with the strategy to change acaricides accordingly and professional. The next speaker is Buddy. Please, as you can see, we are just between people's lunch, and you know what that means.
Thank you, Chair. I think thanks to give me this privilege. I must also acknowledge the presence of my board member, Dr. Alice Banga, here. Yeah, so just to know that my bigger boss is here. So I'll try to go very quick. This is a project that we've implemented within the Eastern Africa countries, but I'll share the presentation as well as provide a link. We want to encourage people to engage, ask a lot of questions, because the time provided is not enough to give a whole presentation. But FMD has been referred here as a key issue in terms of Uganda achieving its livestock export, as well as also the government of Uganda has invested now on a vaccination project. So it would have taken us a lot of time to explain this, but please bear with me. I'll go as quick as possible. This is what will guide me in my presentation. And then just to explain also what Ag Results is, because this is the funding body that actually implements different projects. And there's been also an Ag Results project on seed delivery in Uganda. And below there are the donors. Just to go quickly, one of the projects that they are implementing is this FMD, Ag Results FMD Vaccine Challenge project. It's an 8-year project, and it covers the 6 countries in Eastern Africa, including Burundi, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and of course Uganda. And the overarching objective is actually development and registration of high-quality FMD vaccines that are tailored to the needs of the Eastern Africa region. FMD is a really unique disease. When you go into the serotype and how the cross protection is not there,
So this project was designed to really look at the vaccines that are coming in into the region and how can they be effective rather than just bringing in vaccines. So the key quality that we talked to all FMD manufacturers across the globe within Africa, and we wanted them to satisfy these three conditions. One of them is for development of a quadrivalent FMD vaccine with at least these qualities. Then the vaccine has to be registered in the countries, adding into the quality aspect, where the regulatory authority has a chance to evaluate this FMD vaccine. And then the vaccine has to be approved by our judging panel, and the project is to come in and provide funding for vaccine buyers, which we call a cost share mechanism. But because of time, I won't go into that. I just want to make this announcement, like, from talking to all these manufacturers, at least by September, we had one manufacturer that really achieved all the quality aspects that we were looking at, and we were able now to move into the second phase of the project. We made these announcements in FAO Rome. We had the pleasure of having the Minister of Agriculture, State Minister of Agriculture from Uganda. The Commissioner of Animal Health also was there, so, and also the DVS for Tanzania. So we've all been involved in this project. I'm trying to go as quickly as possible, Chair. But this also, to mean, how was the project to qualify these vaccines? Because previously, like I said, FMD vaccines were coming into the region, but there was no tool to really measure whether this vaccine is relevant. This is more technical, but previously there is what is called the Eastern Africa FMD virus reference antigen panel. It was developed for Eastern Africa, not by us, but as a project, we took the initiative of this because this was carried out involving even the Uganda FMD lab in the circulating strain. So we used this tool to measure those vaccines that we wanted to qualify. And this one just emphasizes that we had the privilege of this tool to be able to look at all those vaccines that are there. And just to point out also, even if we have one manufacturer that has now been announced to have qualified, it doesn't mean no other manufacturer can come in. There are other manufacturers that are coming in. They are still working on their vaccines to come in. So it's not a winner takes it all, but for now we have one manufacturer, just to clarify that point. So we did a lot of work also in capacity building, the regulatory authority. I won't go into much detail into that. And then also we did some work on PPP to assess the landscape in public-private partnership. I know the President Emeritus, Dr. Baluka, has a talk on PPP stakeholder, multi-stakeholder platform. But there is a lot of information in terms of what could be done between the public and the private sector to address the challenges, infrastructural challenges. But because of time, I won't be able to share on that. But these are the key challenges. But also these key challenges that we found from our project, there are also opportunities for players to partner in. So we'll share the information on that. We are promoting our work across all other platforms, including the veterinary associations, and we really want to acknowledge the invitation from the current administration of the UAVA to give us this chance to make this presentation. This last, if I was to present nothing else to you, I think this last slide would have been, Chair, just give me a minute. I'm finishing. This is my last slide. I won't add. Because, like I said, Uganda has now created, it's a pioneer kind of approach within the Eastern Africa country. What we have seen, there is a massive investment coming in to do vaccination for the next 3 years. So we wanted to share our proposed way forward. I know you are the experts here. The keynote speaker also spoke about advocacy.
In this room, I believe they are the key people. You are the key people to advocate some of these things that are not covered or addressed by the project, particularly in trying to get the FMD manufacturers to demonstrate the efficacy of the vaccines to the circulating strain. We want to encourage the government of Uganda to really encourage vaccine testing, pre-qualification of these vaccines, improving of FMD surveillance and post-vaccination. I know Nicholas Dinomande will be talking about ideal vaccination project. He has his presentation on that. But also the second point is we want also the increase on vaccination. What Uganda is trying to achieve, if this one also could be uptake to the regional area, because FMD, if it is not, it is controlled in Uganda and you have the neighbors, DRC, Tanzania, they don't do the similar work, then you can have incursion of FMD despite the huge sort of investment. So I know the chair is standing, I'm supposed to be sitting. So this is our link for further follow-up. We'll share the presentation. We encourage people to engage with us. If there are questions, they can ask beyond this project. But we are really thankful for the opportunity, Chairman, President, and really want to, thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. This is a very important presentation, and it is unfortunate that we can't give each and every presentation much more time than we have afforded. And this also triggers into the thoughts of what you have heard about the pathogen economy. I wonder where it comes in, because these strains are ours. We better benefit from them in as much as they are hitting us. So the manufacturers should also be mindful of that now those viruses that we have saturating can be tapped in as we talk of the pathogen economy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard all the speakers present, and we would want to entertain some questions. So we have an opportunity to have 5 questions, and I want the members who have presented to me near here, and whoever asks a question, please make it a question, not a presentation. Make sure that it is a question, not a presentation.
Let's start here. Just we shall have 5 questions, and if I can add on what you've said, at least let each person be asked a question, not bombarding one person with 10 questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Trevor Zendahayo Jackson. My question goes straight to Dr. Lani about the livestock identification traceability system. This year we have been actually using it during the update on the vaccination process for FMD. But I would like you to update us on how far we can reach with that kind of system, because it has been helping some of us, but currently it seems to be weak a bit. So we want you to update us about it and how we can make use of it going forward. Thank you very much.
Second question. Let me pick this one first. Say your name and the person you're directing the question to.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Rumo Paul. I work with MAIF. My question is to the last presenter on FMD. What I know is that that project, what I read about it is that it can meet 75%, and then the other people the country meets 25% of the cost of the vaccine. But my question is, how are we, for example, if you have one manufacturer and probably the order of the different countries may overwhelm one manufacturer, what is the perspective of having, helping countries to establish probably other centers within countries, and reducing on the cost? So that as we build, because these problems are in these countries, how do we harness so that we build the capacity of also those countries so that they can be able to benefit? Thank you. Then the other one is how are we relating with, we have also PAMVAC. Okay, so how is the quality assurance relating with the regional quality assurance for FMD in Africa? How are we relating the project?
Thank you. Hopefully that question has been captured as well. I'm coming. This gentleman first. The hand has been up for a while.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Simo is my name. I'm a vet in private practice. My question is on FMD, the last presenter. Thank you. I have 2 or 3 questions. One, we know that when there is an outbreak, in order to manufacture a vaccine, you should first do typing vesicular fluid, type so that from that, then you can manufacture the vaccine well knowing the strains. Now, it looks to me that is not being done. That is my first comment. Number 2, in the last outbreak, we got a vaccine from UK. Almost 80% of the animals we vaccinated came down with the disease. Almost. And many members can testify to that. Is it because we are using strange foreign strains that are not common here in our country? Number 3, to me, the best way to know whether a vaccine has worked is take post-vaccinal titers, antibody titers. Then if we find that there are antibodies, we know the vaccine has worked. Isn't that something that should be done? Not just for only FMD, but all the major diseases that we vaccinate against. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sime. And your question has been captured as well.
Colleagues, good afternoon. Thank you so much, presenters. Dr. Chirigwajo Richard speaking. My question goes to Dr. Asimwe. The MAIF officer concerned with livestock identification. Now, that's a big office. And when you said, I want to just summarize it, you said majorly we are identifying our animals for strengthening disease control and ownership of the animals. But are we looking at identification of these animals so that it benefits Uganda to tap into the local, regional, and international markets, so that when our products may be bought or taken into those international, markets, these products, animal source foods, can be traced back onto the farm. Have we put up a system to cater for that? Thank you so much.
I think this is our last question.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Tamale Andrew from COVAB. Alani, I'm looking at the livestock identification in relation to traceability. Please, how does this relate to the food safety aspect? Then Lagu, I want you to give me 2 skills that you think the extension workers will need in the next 5 to 10 years based on your evidence. Then lastly, the government presenter, this FMD journey of the vaccine, is it a prodigal issue or one of certainty? I need your comment. Thank you.
Chair, can I have one more question? Professor, can I have one more question?
Yes, please, you can have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Opore Henry, my name. I practice in Entebbe as a small animal practitioner. Yes, my question goes to the antimicrobial. My question goes to the antimicrobial resistance presentation. Now, my inquiry was, it is good you identified that even streams, water, lakes, and so on are having traces not only traces actually substance of some of these antibiotics and so on. Could this research try to extend this backwards and find the source of all this? But to also touch it a bit, a lot of times, let me touch since we are all here as vets, touch the poultry sector. A lot of times, antibiotics are always prescribed by us actually, that for prevention and so on. Most of the times the person comes and says, do you have this drug? And you inquire, why do you want this? And you realize actually they were advised that they should give at a certain age for no reason. I ask you, are the birds sick or having any symptoms or signs? No. And then you find that this
Can we have a question and not a presentation, please?
Okay. In this regard, could the pharmaceutical industry and so on try, or we find a way of not commending or pressing the young vets or the vets into more of marketing drugs as a food substance than a treatment option? And then my other thing, concern was on the traceability factor. I want to inquire on the bit of, a lot of times we focus on the cows. When you look at the pigs and the birds, oftentimes people lose tens of thousands of birds. People just steal them and the birds are moved overnight anywhere. I have not found any reliable traceability for birds or identification points for tackling some of these things. Then the other thing is, maybe for the interest of time, let me stop here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Over to you, Chair.
I invite the presenters now to respond to those questions, and I will go in the order of the way they presented. Unfortunately, incidentally, the order is Charles. You can answer the questions that were raised to you, and those were the last questions, I think.
Thank you very much. My brother, the source of these ARBs, ARGs, and the chemicals. When we look at wastewater treatment plants, there's the influent, there's the inflow, and then the outflow. Now, what is the purpose of this wastewater treatment plant? Is it to remove microorganisms? Is it to reduce the biological material, or to remove the chemicals? Now, we sampled every 3 months on the wastewater outlet, and we found presence of the chemicals, presence of resistant genes, presence of resistant bacteria. This is a message to our water control guys. Are we doing enough of that water? And that water is abstracted to the domestic ones. Now, for domestic use, I showed you a picture of the cows. We sampled several farms here every 3 months for 1 year. And those cows that we sampled, we found them having antibiotic resistance. And in some of those we found, as you have mentioned, we found the bottles on the farms themselves. So that one, where do they come from? Sometimes we are the ones who take them to the farm. But another important thing is, maybe I'll come back to another important, but the poultry also. I think the group at Maif, NADEC, they have done some work on poultry, and those results are available. So poultry is also not safe. I can quickly say it is not safe because it also has the AMR and ARGs. Then now I can quickly say the major important point. When we are putting policies, did we have data that can guide our measures that we want to put in place? The quick answer is no, we did not have data. We use the data from other countries. Now we have our data, which is produced in a country. When somebody mentions a place, you know, and now you can use that information to put up control measures, to inform policy, both at local and national level. Now, the the brothers who are involved in pharmaceuticals, should we just train them to sell, to be telling people to sell? We need to have a change of mindset. It begins with you, it begins with me, it begins with everyone who is in this room. How can we tell them? Because we have seen it in Europe. In Europe, you cannot buy an antibiotic across the counter. Why do we do it here? And you see, it has trickled down to the foods that we are eating. We have the money, we say we're going to eat chicken and chips, but what are we eating? We're eating antibiotics, we're eating so many things. You enjoy that salad of yours, God knows what the salad has. So stringency is more required in here. I think that's what I could say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Charles. Yes, Chair.
Yes, I now invite Asimwe to address the issue of livestock identification. And on that, please try also to address some key issue. Is there a legal framework to address non-compliance in case of when it comes to animal identification?
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I'll start by responding to your concern. Like I said, just that we had a short time to present everything. One of the things in the presentations that are being worked on is the legal framework to address exactly that. The other concern of tracing other stock, it is advisable when you are implementing any measure to start with to start where you will be more impactful. And currently, regarding the economics involved, that is why cattle is being chosen, because most of the issues that need to be addressed in that area regarding cattle. You gave an example of chicken being stolen. Yes, it's true. However, most of the big crimes are largely in cattle, not necessarily in chicken. Relating leads to food safety and tracing of products and tapping into the international market, it is very true. Leads itself doesn't solve any problem. However, leads is an enabler for you to address all the other issues of food safety, tapping into markets. Just that the limited pilots or activities that are related to leads that have been implemented in Uganda largely have been trying to address the issue of ownership and the issue of proof of ownership and records for disease control. However, if you implement it fully the way it's supposed to be, and that is the plan, indeed, it will enable you to tap into those lucrative markets. A colleague here also asked about the updates on the leads that they were doing in the FMD vaccinations. Just to make it clear, the activities that you were doing using that application, in itself, it was not leads. However, you were using an application that had been developed by for leads to transmit your vaccination records. And this application was developed by a private company that we are working with, and it is still work in progress. Those glitches you may be experiencing are due to building something. You break here, improve here. However, what I can assure you is that your records are safe. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Now I invite, I think Nelson, I didn't hear a question. Nelson. Muhanguzi, did I hear a question to Muhanguzi? No? Yes. But Charles Lagu has a question to address.
Thank you. It's better because we are live on TV. Yes.
Thank you, my classmate, Dr. Remind me with the name again. My classmate. Two skills that will be needed in the next 5-10 years. Tamale Andrew. One is complex problem-solving skills. In addition to our technical skills, we must develop ourselves to have complex problem solving skills. We must develop ourselves to have creative system analytical skills. This will help us to think differently about the problem in the sector and develop resilience. One, so that we are able to understand telemedicine and telehealth, data integration and electronic health records. We are able to leverage ourselves and do robotic surgery. You know, with Professor Mustafa, we have been doing manual surgery. We can then transition to do robotic surgery and add alternative husbandry-related technologies and alternative medicine. So I thought that those are critical skills we need to transition in the next 5 to 10 years. I thank you.
Thank you. He's talking of robotic surgery.
Yes.
I
the
think
information age.
For lunch, sit next to my friend from Alaska Penos. He will update you how far they are doing it and how near we are to it. I invite now Buddy to come and address the several questions on FMD issues, and please summarize them. As I told you, we are standing between people's lunch, and that's not good.
Thanks again, I think, Chair. I appreciate the interest and the questions that were raised. For the benefit of doubt, I think my presentation didn't do justice to the knowledge or the information that I needed to give you. I was prepared to make a presentation for 20 minutes. It was cut down to 10. Some of the questions that were asked from MIFE in terms of the role of AU PANVAC and testing these vaccines, in our project, we are encouraging that. And the question that Dr. Asimwe also asked on in terms of the relevance of the vaccines to the circulating strains in Uganda, if I had given you the profile of the tool that we are using, which includes 16 serotypes of circulating strains, they include circulating strains in Uganda, developed and actually from the focal point. So, and where we know where the serotyping is done at the World Reference Laboratory at Pabright, the only reference lab that is capable to conduct serotype identification. All the information that sometimes you hear, we have local strains, nobody has the capability, I can state that for a fact, to recognize these vaccines until they send this data to Pabright. So anybody saying we have this vaccine that we know, from the project we are saying all these vaccines are actually there, and the tool that was developed by FAO, WAR, these are the tools that we are using to measure the vaccines. So in terms of what goes through the project are vaccines that have been proven beyond any doubt. But if people want to have discussions on On that technicality, we are encouraging to come in. On aspect of the cost share, also on the testing, we encourage MIF, because you are the purchasing agents. If you could insist on the vaccine testing from AU PANVA, you know, because the project is only here for a time. I think this is the question from Andrew, and I see he's walking away. In terms of our time limit as a project is now, what we are trying to institute is we want other relevant authorities like MIF, like Uganda National Drug Authority can take over to really ask for the vaccines that are coming into Uganda. Let them be proven to be effective in Uganda in whichever way. Because before this project was initiated, there was no testing of vaccines that are coming in. Vaccines were being procured. People are claiming this vaccine is quadrivalent, this is pentavalent, and they are being used there. Like the question from Dr. Asime, you talk of a vaccine coming from UK or coming from Asia. Who really took up the initiative to evaluate that vaccine? So this project is actually addressing those questions, like these vaccines that are going, before you put the investment, like the massive investment that Uganda is doing for the next 3 years, please, let's invest in testing those vaccines. Post-vaccination monitoring is key, but that one comes after the fact, after the dollars have been spent, you know. So if we could do work before the vaccines get here, before they are put into our animals, this is what the FMD project is all about. But because of time, we don't have a lot to explain. I wish I had more time to address all those issues. But thanks again for the opportunity to give clarification and the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We have had wonderful presenters all through. We are very grateful for the presentations, for sharing knowledge and results of some sort. Nonetheless, we are racing against time. We've missed some of the questions that you could have put to some of the other presenters. I will have an issue with the person who presented on issues of tick control in Kazo. I think people within this zone here, I might have to make some presentation virtually again, and we understand each other. I fortunately have been leading clinical trials authorized by Uganda National Drug Authority, and all the accuracies we have picked from the market and involved in the trials as controls have passed the test at laboratory level and within the field. I want to assure you. The only issue is usually about the application, and that's where I think we may have to say something. I may have to share a lot with you, because the results indicate most of those accuracies indeed work if you use them appropriately, and that should be the message to our farmers. I now want to have the privilege and honor to invite this strategically positioned presenter. The organizer has indicated this should come out very clearly and separately, and I wish to invite Dr. Chibike of Egovet Uganda to come and make a presentation on management of mycotoxins. Please, I know you have the speed of Bombardier of Uganda Airlines, so you will be able to make it within 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Doctor. Thanks so much for being very patient. I know lunch is almost here, but this is very important. What goes in the food chain is very important. What you take in is very important. So we are here to look at mycotoxin management. I want to call upon my colleague, all the way from Nairobi, is representing KVA for me, and is going to take us through very, very fast. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's sad to be the one between lunch and us, but is mycotoxin a problem here? How many of us know about mycotoxins? Which mycotoxins do we know? Mostly when you talk of mycotoxins, people refer to aflatoxins. But there are 1,000 molecules which are troubling us in the mycotoxin community. And as part of fighting the antimicrobial resistance, we need to look at how to promote gut health by eliminating factors which deteriorate the health of the gut, because they say if the gut is not healthy, the animal is not healthy. So most of what we treat are not because we have bacterial infections, it's because we have factors which interfere with the gut health. And that's why we thought we talk about mycotoxins today. These are the invisible enemies, which are produced by fungi for reasons known to the fungi, but is theorized as a defense mechanism or a competitive exclusion mechanism. So we also become competitors of the fungi. So as we try to feed on the maize that the fungi did produce the mycotoxins to defend, then they also defend themselves against us and we get the mycotoxicosis or our livestock. So the environment in Uganda is very conducive for all mycotoxins to prosper. The temperature is good. Most people do not know the value of blankets because it's warm day and night. The relative humidity is with us. And this is what the fungi need. We have the persistent problem of crop damage to pests, birds, rodents, and this weakens the immunity of the crop and can easily get them invaded by the fungi. Then we have stresses all over, either too much rain or drought, and all these factors will lower the immunity of the crop. We get the fungal invasion, and then they produce these toxins to defend themselves. But the challenge is we are not able to see any crop and identify that they are contaminated by mycotoxins. Because the presence of fungi does not indicate the level of contamination. So the third part is 95% of the mycotoxins are produced when the crop is in the field. This is the group that we call field mycotoxins. And there are over 240 molecules. The ones that we've been focusing on are the storage mycotoxins. And these are just 5%. And these ones we can control. But these that come from the field are either in the crop or not in the crop. And the level that you harvest them with will hardly increase. So we have to get measures to try to prevent them from affecting our livestock. So these are the molecules if you are a biochemist, and we all did biochemistry. This is how they look like, and those are the fungi that produce them. So we've been focusing on aflatoxin, which is rather flat. That's why we've been talking of binding or absorption. That's why everybody talks of a binder. But the binding only ends with aflatoxins. When we now move to these phemonicins, the ralenon, alkaloids, the ochra, the trithec, then we need to find a way of biotransforming. So the biotransformation is by use of proven enzymes to break them into non-toxic metabolites which are not reversible. So how many of us are taking care of zearalenone? How many of us have issues of cows with repeat breeding? We talk of follicular cysts. When you have follicular cysts, your cow turns to look like a bull. Very big, and the tail is always up. And for pigs, you see reddening of the vulva because zearalenone is similar to estrogen. So what happens when we eat these crops which have zearalenone, the men in the house? We start becoming feminine. Yeah? So it's a danger to the crops, it's a danger to the animals, it's also a danger to us. So we need to take care. And the only way to prevent these mycotoxins coming to us, we need to prevent them from being carried into the body of the animal by using proven mycotoxin risk management technologies which are available to be able to mitigate against this risk and avoid unnecessary treatments. So this is the level of the minuteness of this mycotoxin that can evoke a serious problem in our livestock. We measure in parts per billion. So parts per billion is 1 part in a billion. 1 microgram in a kilo is what we call 1 part per billion. So it's not very easy to measure. So this is just to explain how minute the levels are, but they still affect and they cause serious problems. So just by looking at it, I said you cannot be able to identify how clean a maize is, how clean your soya is, you will not be able to do visually. You need to do laboratory analysis. And to do your laboratory analysis, you need to do proper sampling because these toxins are not uniformly distributed in any sample in a lorry or in a container. So you need to do several samples and sub-samples to get a representation that will be taken to the laboratory to give you a good indication. Most of us do not do that. And all the species of the livestock that we keep are susceptible. Coincidentally, pig is most susceptible, followed by the cattle. which we normally believe are resistant because of the rumen. And we'll revisit that if we have time. And then we have the chicken. Fish are not excluded. So we have a task to protect the livestock, to protect ourselves. Because like the cows, what happens when you give them aflatoxin G1 or B1? What do they do to it? They transform it to M1. And M1, they say, you gave me the toxin, let me transform it for you into a more toxic form, then now you take it. And we have all the liver cancers that are affecting us. So who wants to get liver cancer? Nobody. So we need to protect our cattle so that the aflatoxins do not get to them, this mycotoxin do not get to them, so that they bring them back to us in more toxic forms. So even for poultry, turkey are the most sensitive, broilers least sensitive among the group. So we have our layers and the breeders there. So we need to protect them. And if we had time, we could have gone into the mode of action. This presentation will be available. But the key thing, aflatoxin B1 is a carcinogen. And same is for fumonisin, which is a carcinogen. Zearalenone is important for fertility because it resembles estrogen. So when for normal reproduction, we need a balance of progesterone and estrogen. So what happens if an animal, a female animal, is under constant estrogenic effect? Can they conceive? Can they maintain a pregnancy? So if you are the vet doing AI, you'll be told, no, you are giving us fake semen. But you are not giving any fake. The body cannot respond. So we need to protect our animals against that. Well, if you get into the trichothecins, the dawn particularly, causes permeability of the gut. So we end up with a leaky gut. And with this permeability of the gut, digestion and absorption is interfered with. So this undigested food goes to the lower gut and becomes the good media for Clostridium perfringens. Clostridium perfringens we know causes necrotic enteritis. And with all this damage to the gut, we now get a predisposal to coccidiosis. And there's proof that they also reduce the immunity of the animal by interfering with the gut health. So E. coli, salmonella become common problems. So now we go to the scenario which was being discussed here of prescribing antibiotics one after another, and then it does not respond. So we have an answer to this. So we need to improve on all this. I think we've just talked about that. And this is the details which you'll get in the presentation, how the mycotoxins interfere with the gut health. And if you don't have a good gut, you don't have an animal, you don't have any money in your pocket. So just a schematic of what fumonisin can do to the gut. This is a good gut, the one you have on the left, but with this, the absorptive area is reduced and your animal is suffering, and most of the time you'll see diarrhea or wet diarrhea. And coccidiosis has been proven to be a factor of fumonisin and DON. And this is a picture of necrotic enteritis. Most of us, when you see that, will talk of coccidiosis and you start wondering what the problem is. And they'll be ballooning because of the bacterial fermentation. So you open the gut even for a cow, you see it's all ballooned and you wonder, where did this gas come from? You're dealing with mycotoxins. And fertility is affected because there's evidence that you get traces in the albumin and the yolk. The yolk is the one, the germinal disc. We have it in the yolk. And what if this happens to humans? They will be struggling and going to all the hospitals to get the health down there and to prosper humanity, but it won't work because we are getting the problem. So fumonisins interfere with lipid metabolism, and you know lipids are very important. And so for cattle, we've always focused on aflatoxin. But the sad part is they're only able to degrade 0 to 42% from B1 to M1. The rest remains undegraded. Zearalenone, they convert by 50%, but the 50% they convert is to alpha zearalenone. Alpha zearalenone is 60 times more toxic than zearalenone. So the cow is the ruminant is very clever. They change it from a less toxic form and pass it over. So now we get it in our milk, we get it in our meat. For the trichothecins, 15 to 99% depend, because these are over 230 molecules. So depending on the molecule we are looking at, so it's not reliable. Ochra is the one which the rumen microbe are able to work on. Fumonisin, no degradation. And the inertins, which are the emerging mycotoxins. So we can see our cows are not immune to mycotoxins. So we need an intervention to support them. And this is just to show how zearalenone is being degraded, but we end up with alpha zearalenone, which is 60 times more toxic. So, and that's how, with the effect of estrogen, you get waves of ovulation, and we end up with follicular cyst. So when you put your hand in, you say, bravo, come with the hormones, and it does not work. So you'll blame the hormones, you'll blame the AI, you blame the vet, you blame the training, but the problem is not that. So if you are to do ultrasound, this is what you'll see, and you'll find all the manner, but the issue is zearalenone affecting your animals. And for those who do poultry, I know you've seen a lot of this. If you look at this bird here, you'll blame the farmer for overcrowding, but this is the effect of the mycotoxins. And then you look at the beak, you think it was burnt out. You ask them, are you giving hot water? Or no. These are the effect of the mycotoxins. So, if that's your breeder, will you get any chicks? No. And look at that picture of the ovary. Will there be any eggs coming out? And the bad thing, if you get any eggs coming out, these toxins pass through the egg, and it will interfere with the health of the chicks. Those are the chicks, when they come to your farm, they just start dying, and whatever you do, it does not work. So, and this is what happens to the gonads. I wish this does not happen to humans, but this is what zearalenone can do. And for the chicken, you end up with prolapse, the same thing you see with pigs, and you'll start wondering what this problem is. And I'm sure many of you have seen this, but we've handled it with calcium, DCP, and that's not the issue. So, what adsorption of the binders that we are frequently using do only work on aflatoxins and the ergot alkaloids. When you go beyond the aflatoxin and ergot alkaloids, adsorption or binding will not work. You need to do what we call biotransformation, and biotransformation is breaking down these mycotoxins into non-toxic forms. And you can see there are a lot of publications around that, which you'll be able to access and read more to the benefit of the knowledge. So this is what you call binding. Binding is basically adsorption, use of certain class of clay or bentonites, which has the ability to absorb aflatoxins mainly. Because in their molecular structure, they are regarded as flat. So they can get into the steric structure of the clay and easily be gotten out. But you have to be careful about what binder you put in, because the binder must be selective for the mycotoxins. It should not be binding your vitamins, should not be binding your amino acids, your enzymes. Then you end up with a sterile feed, and you still interfere with the bird. So EU has got a standard for qualifying a binder or an adsorber. It should be able to selectively eliminate aflatoxin at 4,000 parts per billion, using only 200 grams at a pH of 5. So this is a study which has been done of the available binders in the market, or the adsorbers, and you can see the performance. So zearalenone, DON, binding will not help you. So we have to get better solutions. That's where biotransformation comes in. And it's a technology that uses non-enzymes or microbes to convert mycotoxins into non-toxin, irreversible metabolites. And the process must be very fast, must be specific, and so that we allow the animal to get the nutrition that they deserve from what we feed them. So bioprotection is another technology which has been included in the solutions that we have to ensure that as the gut is, as the product is working on either binding or biotransforming, these metabolites do not get to interfere with the gut, the immune system, or the liver. It's a unique mix of plant extracts that does the work. And just on a summary, this is what the combination of the three modes of action for ensuring mycotoxin risk management entails. We start with the adsorption, which is the primary thing that all of us have been doing against aflatoxins, ergot alkaloids. Endotoxins are the poisons which are produced, the toxins produced by the microbes in the gut. But now beyond that, we need to bioprotect it as we go through the biotransformation. So we have the enzyme which breaks down zearalenone so that reproduction can be optimal. Fumzyme breaks down fumonisin. That long chain, it clips the extensions.
I think you have overshot the time, please.
Thank you very much.
It is coming to 3. It is already 3. We cannot afford to keep people not going for their lunch. Otherwise, unless you have put them off in fear of aflatoxins in the food.
And I don't want to create any more anxiety. We have already discussed, and I'm still here up to tomorrow. This will be shared, and I'm very grateful. The moment was very short. I was wondering what to put in. So, in the interest of time and the gut, so that we don't cause gut problems, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and EgoVet, we are so grateful for the support you keep on giving us, including this scientific knowledge.
Thank you. A very big hand of applause to our chair and co-chair, professor and your colleague. Thank you so much.
And to the presenters, please.
And the presenters as well. I would like to thank you also for being attentive throughout the session. You can also clap for yourselves. Dr. Kagoro, come and give us guidance for lunch. I think we should first pray for lunch, then you give guidance.
Who is ready to lead us in prayer as I hand over the microphone? I'll take it back. Oh, Dr. Virondwa, come and say the grace. The lunch is served at the same venue we had breakfast on level 2.
May the Lord bless the food we are going to eat. Amen.
And those who are going to eat it. Amen.
Thank you. I would like to attach time, the time segment. Much as we are having lunch, let us be mindful of time. 30 minutes, I think. 30 minutes is enough for us because we still have a lot to share. We still have a lot to uncover, to unlock. So let us try to be as fast as we can. Our properties are safe as well. I don't think there is anybody who is going to tamper with our bags. But the phones, let's carry our phones. It is easy to pick and put in your pocket. Thank you so much. DJ, some sound bite, some background music as people are enjoying lunch. I thank you.
Sky TV, irakari abantu. 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 Sky TV, irakari abantu.